and be glad in it. We just want to thank the Most High for giving us another opportunity to be able to worship Him, to be able to lift up our voices, to give Him honor, to give Him glory, and to give Him praise. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
All of the gods, they are the works of man, but you are the Most High-Yah. There is none like you. All of the gods, they are the works of man, but you are the Most High-Yah.
You are the most can be what words can we say to express our gratitude? What can be offered to you, oh yeah, worthy of your magnitude?
Hallelujah.
We will abide in you, Yah, in you, Yah, rest in you, Yah, rest in you, and to wait on you, draw strength from you, Yah, rest in you, Yah, rest in you, abide in you, Yah, in you, Yah, rest in you, Yah, rest in you, and to wait on you, draw strength from you, Yah, rest in you, Yah, rest in you. I wanna, be, I wanna, be, I wanna, be, I wanna, you are the true God, you are the true God, you are the true God, you are the true God. La la la, si, zozi fila si, la 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 si, zozi fila si, la 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 si, zozi fila the true God, the true God, you are the true God.
Hallelujah.
I didn't even know we were going to stop right there.
Yeah, that was dope. That was dope.
Let your hand
Like that.
There's something under the track.
Y'all see the title, Who Fits, right? Exploration of Biblical Prophecy. It's been a lot that's happened in the news. Our ministry really has not responded to it per se, you know, because we actually had a conversation about this, and one of the elders had pulled out a verse that came to mind that deals with what we're supposed to do, what our job is. And we all have our individual jobs. We stay steadfast, right? So it's in 1 Corinthians, I think, 58. When we stay steadfast, we stay immovable. We keep ever abounding in the grace and in the knowledge and understanding of the Most High-Yah. That we just keep moving. You just keep doing what you're doing. As this world is topsy-turvy, we just keep steady at what we're doing for the Most High, right? Stay in His word, stay ever abounding. But there comes a time where you may have to put your stake in the sand, right? That happens. So that's what we're gonna deal with. Just in case there was some sort of misunderstanding, maybe we may be a messianic type of organization, whatever it may be. We're gonna find out today. You're gonna find out today. You know what I'm saying? Nah, we got researchers in the building. We got scholars in the building. All right. So y'all see the title, Who Fits? All right. So let's keep moving. All right. We're gonna do our mantra here. The 1 and the 2 and 3. We are learning to walk through obedience to the Torah together, building in Ahava and Amba, from the Ah to the Yalad, in Ruah, Yeshua, Ben Yahuwah. Now let's also say it like this: we ain't affiliated with no other Hebrew camp. Just want to make sure that's understood too. We reserve to have our own opinion. All right, we have that right to do that, and we're going to do that today. And these thoughts and opinions are of our own. They're of our own. So that's just also, I gotta say these types of things because there's no telling what's right with this. So here's what it is, y'all. All right, so let's get to the flagship that we utilize a lot in our conversations. Let's open it up. Let's get to it. There's gonna be a certain people. Now I'm gonna utilize a book that was written by Elisha J. Israel. It's called Into Egypt Again with Ships. Very interesting book. Gives a breakdown of a lot of good information. So what I'll be doing primarily is using this as a source. We're going to actually walk through a chapter. We're going to read. All right? We're going to read. We're going to read these scriptures. We'll read what he has to say, and then let's have a conversation. Let's talk about it. All right? Let's see what the title says. Who fits? All right? So we already know what it is from Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 14. What is it normally? What is it primarily?
Oh, it's the blessings.
It's what you do exactly. But what do you have to do?
You have to, as long as you keep the commandments.
Right. Hallelujah. We already know that. So, but y'all know the format, how we like to do that. That's Most High's format. We just doing this to show that what the issues are, and then how we can fix it later on, right? You come in, you diagnose, and then the doctor can prescribe you something, right? So we're going to deal with that. We're going to do what the Most High tells us to do. But let's look at our condition and what state it is today as far as biblical prophecy goes. All right, Deuteronomy 28, starting at verse 15. Go ahead, Yirmiyahu. I got Yirmiyahu who is my reader today, so I appreciate that. He'll go ahead and walk through this whole thing with us. All right?
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Most High, thy Elohim, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I commanded thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field.
All right, stop right there. So let me read this book. It says, as an example of this, recent times was evident after and during the period known in America as the Great Migration. This was a time when blacks, and I want to use these terms in this book, all right? I'm just going to read it out of this verbatim. That was a time when blacks moved by the thousands from southern states into bustling northern cities. Many blacks viewed the north as a land of promise and opportunity. Although blacks left the South, they did not leave the curse that was bestowed upon them by God or by Yah. They cursed, the curse followed them. And just as in the South, they experienced discrimination, poverty, and violence. These conditions came in the form of segregation, bans from various occupations, race riots, lynching, and other forms of terrorism. Correct. I think we all know that. Any commentary on that? Otherwise, we're going to keep it pushing. Like I said, whatever
If you
comes.
believe it, then you can use Google, you can use other resources. If you don't believe that those things have happened,
Yes.
then you can always look it up yourself, and you can even just go to the archives here in America, and you can see all of those things that are documented.
Yes. United States Library of Congress or something like that. That's all online for everybody to check out and look at. That's actually a pretty good statement, sir. That helps out. It helps out people who don't have an understanding of what they may or may be. Speaking of lynching, there is a verse, right, in Deuteronomy 20, I'll deviate just a little bit, that talks about those who hang on a tree are cursed. Cursed he who hangs on a tree. Now I know that was probably dealing with the land, because I think that, if you hang somebody on a tree and it ends up hitting hits up nightfall, then that land is cursed. But it still doesn't remove that cursed is that person that hangs on a tree. Last time I checked. Yeah, you read it yourself. I'm just paraphrasing right now, but I think y'all know where it's at. So it's interesting how we're gonna have to investigate that a little bit. It's still unfortunate, but we trying to find out who fits. That's what we're gonna look at. Okay. So I appreciate that. Any other comments?
You said from Deuteronomy with the curse is the man that hangs on the tree, but you can also find that in the New Testament.
Show nothing.
So just in case
somebody
thinks that, okay, well that's just Torah, but you also have Mashiach's
Yes.
situation
That
correlates to hanging on the tree.
Everybody's important. Flagship. You talking about flagship? Yes, ma'am. And that was from, and it still fit the what we was talking about.
Yes.
It was from the 3rd hour to the 9th hour, or something like that. From the 3rd hour to the 9th hour. That's good. All right. Yirmiyahu, please. Just 17 and 18.
Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep.
I appreciate it. The book says, these verses show a lack of wealth and sustenance among the Israelites. In addition, the children that the Israelites brought forth would also be accursed. Currently, I'm gonna give y'all some data, man. Some data, stats, and statistics. Okay? It's time for that. The total net worth of blacks is 1.2%. All right, and this dude gives a whole bunch of data here, because we got to do that, right? And I'm not trying to be. This is not any old kind of way. I mean, I've read books prior when I was in Christianity, and these other authors I used to read didn't have to show nearly as many references and sources as we do. It's very interesting how that goes, but whatever. All right, we're willing to do it. Total net worth is 1.2%. This figure has remained the same since the end of the Civil War in 1865. In 2002, of African Americans' median net worth was $5,998 compared to $88,651 for Caucasians. In addition, 32% of African Americans had a zero or negative net worth. Take, for instance, employment. which is the main factor that determines a person's income. And income is the major generator of wealth and prosperity. In 2003, the employment population ratio for African Americans was 57.4%. This means that of black ages 16 to 65, only 43.6% are employed. 43.6%. I want to. That's less than if the unemployment rate was like that right now for most all Americans, it would be front page every day. It's revolutionary. Yeah, exactly.
It'd be revolutionary.
Oh my God. In many of the nation's large metropolitan cities, the employment situation for African Americans is also bleak. For example, in 2003, only 51% of New York City's black males were employed, while 75% of white men held jobs the same year. I'm only going to go through. Yeah, we can talk about it. Yeah. In addition to unemployment, blacks experience low rates of home ownership and a high degree of homelessness. If current home ownership rates continue, it will take African Americans 5,423 years to achieve equality with whites. African Americans also make up 42% of the nation's homeless population, 42% of the homeless population, which what is happening to black America coincides with what Holy Scriptures reveal would happen to the true Israelites. It is evident that the struggles of the forefathers have not brought a substantial amount of wealth to the forebears. Now take into account, here we go, we got to talk about it. The title of this is Who Fits. Here we go. Now take into account the financial status of the people known as, I'm going to use the term white Jewish today. It says Jews, but I'm going to substitute, because if we're supposed to be black Hebrew Israelites, I'm going to say white Jewish. And if y'all want me to stop and not say that, pray on it, tell me, I'll stop. But for now, that's what I'm going to use. Okay. All right, so the financial status of people known as the white Jewish today, the median income of white Jewish households is above $50,000. And let's make sure this is in 2006, so I just want to let y'all know, kind of get your mind wrapped around this number. 50,000 actually back in 2006 was, 50K back in 2006 was y'all was straight. All right, just want to let y'all know that. All right, so median income of white Jewish households is above $50,000, and more than 30% of white Jewish earn more than $75,000, while the average income in U.S. households is just above $40,000.
Just being born Jewish, you get 50K in your pocket.
And less than 20% of all U.S. households earn above, less than 20% of all U.S. households earn above $75,000. Furthermore, in 2006, more than 46% of the people who are known as Jews today earn more than $100,000 annually. This makes them the highest earning group in the United States.
So then those are facts, right?
These are facts.
This is stuff that can be pulled up yourselves, and you can look it up. So nobody's burning bread on nobody. Nobody's saying like that, oh, we hating on somebody because they make more money. We're just stating facts.
Right.
That these are the facts, and that we are reading from the scriptures, and they say it fits a people.
God, I'm telling you, all people we had a great conversation earlier. So I want to make sure it's understood that what do they believe in largely? The white Jewish people, what do they believe? This is for my Christians who are listening. Do they believe? What do they believe in? The Talmud. Talmud, sometimes we like to say. Why do we say that? Why? Because it says in certain parts. We'll pull it up. One of these days we're gonna pull it up. It says that Christ is burning in hot doo-doo. We're gonna say that. Yeah, we'll say doo. Don't keep hot doo-doo. You know what I'm saying? What you got?
Also to point out that most, like, the white Jewish people, most of them are actually secular. Most of them don't even really believe in God at all. It's only like a few, like maybe like 20-30% that are like the Orthodox.
Mm-hmm.
So most of them are really, like, when they try to tell you something about whatever they are the people, it's like most of them don't even really claim, they don't even really believe in Abraham and Jacob. Like,
no.
They just see you, claiming that you're Israelite and have a problem when you're claiming it. But most of you don't even really believe it. So most of them are secular.
I'm so glad Shout out. I'm so glad he said that because, true story, that was my interaction with somebody during the Passover, the time, how I found out of being a true Hebrew Israelite. How I found out partially was because there was a white Jewish man that worked. I'm assuming he owned that place where he was at, but it was like kind of a gas station of sorts. A store that sold alcohol and different things. So for the Passover, you get kosher, beverages. So I went in there and I specifically told him I'm looking for something that's Passover good for Passover. I didn't know he was a white Jewish person. He revealed that to me. So when I asked him about this, he goes, "Oh, are you Jewish?" He goes, "Oh." And I said, "No, not exactly." And before I could even say, he was like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like he already knew. When I said something like that, he was like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like he already knew who I was. And then he followed it up by saying, "So, you getting all your stuff for the Passover?" I said, "Yes." I said, "We're getting all our stuff for our unleavened bread, that's coming right after that." And then I was like, "Yeah, so we're just trying to gather all of our stuff." And when I went up to pay and take my money, I was like, "So are you going to be keeping the Passover? Where are you going to keep?" Like, kind of like talking to him because I'm like, "Well, you do it too, right?" And he goes, "Oh no, I'm about to go home and eat a ham sandwich."
Oh, okay.
I mean, it was nothing. It was as nothing to,
I'm glad you bring this up because both of y'all not. Because now it makes me think about, and y'all all know this. Think about some of them Arab or I know nobody likes to say Moabite or Chinese, Vietnamese, whatever. Do they go against their own culture like that?
No.
I have thought about it until we literally have this conversation.
And if they do, it's a problem.
It's a problem.
Like,
It's
it's
an
a major thing. Like,
Then you cut out a family will.
yes.
There you go. But do you have that on that side?
Yeah.
Right.
Don't they have the biggest pride parade over there?
They show
Yeah,
that.
in the world.
I know they were running here for a while.
Tel Aviv, the capital of the pride
Yeah.
parade.
That's right.
Yeah, I think it came back to San Francisco, but it was there for some years.
Came back.
You know why they came back to San Francisco? Because they came back to
They had to run it for a minute.
On both of the coasts, the west.
Also, we was watching a panel the other day. It was Straightway Ministries. I know we don't, subscribe to all the ideologies, but it was a pretty good panel. I'm not supposed to. But they were talking with a Jewish guy. They were talking with it was a younger white Jewish guy debating one of the brothers from Straightway. And he, out of his own mouth, he said, "Everybody knows the Bible is not real history." He said it out of his mouth. He said, "It's just stories. They don't matter." Because he kept coming with screams like, "They don't matter. They don't matter."
It's easy to say.
Came right out of his mouth.
He acted so offended about it, like he was like getting upset, but then he called the Bible a story, but it's like, well, why are you here and why do you feel so strongly about it?
So the same book you say is just made up stories. You use the same book to justify who you are.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't make that sense.
Crazy stuff.
I'm telling y'all, and we love y'all. A lot of us, we have family members still in Christian faith. Think
Yes,
about
we
it.
do.
Just consider it, you guys.
Please.
Consider it. That's all we want you to think. Use it. Y'all give in mind that he's giving you.
Sound mind.
And use it. Sound mind. Try to use it. All right, we gotta keep going. Thank you. Oh, thank you. All right. Hear me out. Thank you. 19. We started at 18, right? 19. Read all the way 19 to 24.
Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. The Most High shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke, and all that thou settest thine hand unto to do. Until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. The Most High shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he have consumed thee from off the land, whither thou goest to possess it. The Most High shall smite thee with a consumption, and with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with the sword, and with the blasting, and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish. And thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. And the Most High shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust. From heaven shall it come down upon thee, until thou be destroyed.
Now that was a book. We were talking about it earlier. Oh, let me read what they got. It says, on the pressing indication of who the Israelites are, is that throughout time they have been defeated and scattered throughout practically every nation on the earth. Now, but reading this, Deuteronomy 28, 19, 24, it's talking about the land. It's talking about how, like, you ain't gonna see nothing. Now it's gonna look up, it's gonna be like brass, and what's below you is gonna be like iron. And this is why, for those who are African, can completely understand what colonization looks like. All right, what colonization looks like. And there's a lot in there. I mean, it's basically talking about that you not only catch fever and all that information. So with that, we was gonna get some more data. Like I said, you can pull this stuff up of how many different minerals and resources are being pulled to different nations out of the land. And believe me, what I have here is probably not. It's not everything that you can per se point to say, oh, okay, that country just has this. No, it's full of different types of minerals and resources. So you see it right here, right? Gold coming out of the Tanzania, Mali, Guinea, Burkina Faso, right? They talk about bauxite coming out of Guinea. The Democratic DR, right? You got cobalt and industrial diamonds, and I know for a fact, also you get coltan out of the DR. Go ahead.
Well, I can let you finish what you're saying. I just wanted to.
Oh,
I can wait.
all right. And yes, I know you get coltan out of it. Coltan is something that's used in everybody who has a cell phone. If you have a computer, if you're whatever it is, if it has a chip, it uses coltan. I had to find this out, and mainly it comes out of the Congo. So you shut down. If you shut down them folks from getting access to that, that's why I don't do it. That's why it's crazy how the Congo, because it looks like the Congo's get. I think you brought it up. You said the Congo gets ravaged. It looks like that's the one that they just can't get out of it, whatever it is they in.
So what I wanted to say is I can see why they're probably really angry and wanting us to stay oppressed and not know. Because once the Most High sends us home, that nonsense will stop. That nonsense will stop.
It's gonna stop.
Not allow that.
And we just gonna stand on top of what we have, and then we're gonna do what we're supposed to do righteously, out and send it out like we're supposed to according to the scriptures. That's good. Anything else? 'Cause I'm about to show this next one, and that's another one. All right, that's why I said it's like this one shows one thing, but then there was another site that showed more things out of the same place. So I'm just like, y'all, there's no ending to how many precious metals, minerals, resources, whatever it is, that exist under the feet of the people. Another one, copper. We didn't even read it before. Sulfur, salt. Look, salt. It comes out of
Titanium.
Yeah, when you see that? Which one? Yeah, Kenya. Titanium. Okay, that's huge. That's huge.
You know how many things that they use? Sugar, you said? Oh yeah, when you see that stuff like that, that says, where did you see sugar?
I don't see sugar.
You don't see sugar. Okay, that's exactly, good point. You don't see sugar. But what I was gonna say is that, they made that movie, right? The whole Black Panther thing, right? And I know that a lot of people don't understand, but when they do those things, it comes from somewhere. So they know that even though they say this is Wakanda, right? They build these Wakandas in Africa. It's clear that Wakanda's in Africa. I don't care if it's a made-up place.
Like they've done in past Marvel movies. When they were introducing Wakanda, they go over the western coast to say it's somewhere in the middle, like Chicago or Rwanda.
So, but when you hear about it, the whole thing it's a source. It's a natural thing that is there, right?
Yep.
And so, look at how they put it in your face of what they're trying to do. They've been trying to they say, rape Africa for so long, pulling out, and then having the people kill each other to profit from it.
Right.
From the diamonds, from the different stuff like that. So for me, when I see this, it just tells you once again that they put it in your face what they're doing, but then they'll tell you, no, they don't do that no more. Like they'll say that's a long time ago. So when are these records from?
That's what I'm saying. This is current.
They don't even have their own currency.
Yeah.
Other countries still don't have their own currency. Their currency is still belonging to the colonizers.
Come on now. And if you coming in there to civilize folks, well then that's why it don't make sense. You coming in to civilize, but okay, if you're gonna do that, you're gonna take our minerals and resources and the whole nine. But then like you just now said, you ain't got no money. That ain't make sense. I mean, it's not getting nothing in exchange for what it is that you're giving up. All right, John, just verse 25. Hear me out, please. Yeah, just 25.
The Most High shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth.
All right. So y'all probably already familiar with that, with the transatlantic slave trade. All right, I'm gonna read this here. It says, through the slave trade, which occurred after severe military defeats, the Israelites were removed, taken captive, and forced into all nations. It is necessary to note the distinct difference between how they and many other groups came into the Americas. Israelites did not migrate, but were removed. It was not the decision of their ancestors to come to the Americas. Rather, they were forced into the vicious and brutal cycle of enslavement as the cargo of their captors. We'll keep it moving. I think we all kind of get this. We've seen these things in the past. Go ahead and read verse 26 for me, please.
And thy carcass shall be meat unto all the fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away.
Right. I know we're going to go ahead and get into it, so we're going to have a conversation, because they're going to talk about who fits. All right. Go ahead and read this here. This goes back to what you just now said too, Ali, but I'm about to read this one. So this is the lynching of George Meadows. And I would exhort anybody. It was hard for me to want to think about putting this picture up. That is an actual real person. That's George Meadows. But at the same time, we got to see it, right?
Yeah.
I think you had made the distinction one day over that them people, them Arab people, they over there, they educating their children. They telling them from the youngest age how evil these folks out here is. Telling them at a young age, got stuff on the walls, everything. So I get it. You know what I'm saying? We got to sometimes show this stuff because this is reality. It's what happened. All right, so it's the lynching of George Meadows. On January 14th, let me read that title. George Meadows was an African-American man who was lynched on January 15th, 1889 in Jefferson County, Alabama, United States. Lynching in the aftermath. On January 14th, 1889, a white woman reported that she had been raped and her son killed by an African-American man. Over 400 white coal miners formed themselves into groups and brought several black men to the woman, who was unable to identify any of them as the alleged criminal. The next day, the miners brought Meadows, a new arrival to the area, and after a brief investigation, determined him to be guilty. The woman begged the mob to not lynch Meadows. The woman begged the mob to not lynch Meadows, as she was unsure if he was the criminal. But the mob went forward with the lynching and killed him near the scrap mines following his death. His body was shot multiple times and left in public view by an undertaker. Meadows was later buried in the pauper's grave in what is now Lane Park in Birmingham. Now that's another thing too. Well, obviously it's more later, but a lot of parks. I'm pretty sure y'all have researched this too in the past. There are parks and there are like and something else I know that's big, that they'll go over graves, past graves, and lakes.
A lot of man-made lakes.
Right, man-made lakes, parks. Yeah. So, these things are covering up like graves and also like cities. We have bustling cities and all of that, and they were like, they were taken down by mobs or whatever.
They're still pulling up, they just came out, I think I was sharing that with y'all before, they're still pulling out bones of children and people, a lot of children from the riot in Tulsa.
They're still from one of the most known ones.
They just started finding more and more, trying to identify them.
Yep.
Plus, it
Alright, I'm gonna do one more. I know it's hard, but we gotta find out who fits. Alright, so, and now I'm gonna point what I talked about, what you just now said, Leah. All you have to do is go to your Google box, your Google toolbar, and type in lynching of, and oh my gosh, you'll have plenty of results. And it's striking.
This is so much that even Google can't do.
It's striking, yes sir. Alright, this is the lynching of Jesse Washington. Jesse Washington was a 17-year-old African-American farmhand who was lynched in the county seat of Waco, Texas, on May 15, 1916, in what became a well-known example of racist lynching. Washington was convicted of raping and murdering Lucy Fryer, the wife of his white employer in rural Robinson, Texas. He was chained by his neck and dragged out of the county court by observers. He was then paraded through the street, all while being stabbed and beaten before being held down and castrated, yes. He was then lynched in front of Waco's City Hall. Over 10,000 spectators, including city officials and police, gathered to watch the attack. There was a celebratory atmosphere among whites at the spectacle of the murder, and many children attended their lunch hour. Members of the mob cut his fingers and hung him over a bonfire after saturating him with coal oil. He was repeatedly lowered and raised over the fire for about 2 hours. After the fire was extinguished, his charred torso was dragged through the town. A professional photographer took pictures as the event unfolded, providing rare imagery of a lynching in progress. The pictures were printed and sold as postcards in Waco. There's no, and I put the pictures small right at the bottom. I didn't really want to show you, but I ain't trying to, right? And there's people in the background smiling. Anyway, it says large crowd. What's that?
I was like, no, I know it to be true because I've seen those pictures too of children and adults smiling.
There's a recent photo out of Jerry Jones trying to stop segregation.
Oh yeah, I saw it too.
He was a young man. He was in the crowd trying to stand against the Hebrew students trying to go to school.
That's the Cowboys thing, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me. Because remember, he got accused of something about being racist at one point in his career.
Yeah.
This is not the first time. So my thing is that when we see stuff like this, right? Like I truly have a question, like for the people even out there.
Go ahead.
So the Holocaust happened, right? But were they paraded? Did they send postcards?
No.
Was there anybody?
No, I've never heard that. From my understanding and my reason, I've never heard that.
Okay, so so this happened in Waco, Texas, right? This is 1916, so this is after slavery. Okay? So first you're in slavery, and then when you get out of slavery, then you're treated like this. From my understanding, when the white Jewish people were released from the concentration camps, those that survived, they were free to go and live in peace, wherever they choose to go. They chose to then go to Israel after the fact, but after that, they went into different places around Germany and all the Europe, right?
Right.
And live well.
And that's what I was gonna say. And then they lived well, and nobody was like creating like hate crimes. They were not being like lynched in the streets. I mean, this is after being released, right? So after we're released, supposedly, right? After we're released, this is still happening in numbers that you can just Google.
Yep.
So how, again, is the question, can they fit what we're reading? If the big event for them is always the Holocaust.
Right.
That's the only reason I said that. Right? That's the big event that they always bring people back to, and that's what's happening on media. Is saying, oh, my people perished in the Holocaust, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is not the same. It can't be the same because it's still happening to us
It's
today.
perpetual. Because once again, we're going to go ahead, and I see what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to always go back to, in case they're like, well, then that means they're being blessed. They got to be people then, they're being blessed. But then that goes back, Christians, that's why y'all got to stick with me. What did we just now establish beforehand? These people don't believe in Christ.
Yeah.
They don't. They don't believe in who. So what commandments are they following?
They don't even believe in the Bible at all.
Say again.
They don't even believe in the Bible.
They don't even really.
They think it's just made up stories.
Right. So we got. I know that's the part we're gonna. Because y'all are great points, and we're gonna have to be like, okay, so it goes right back to what else? They being blessed. They're not. You got that. They're not. They don't even believe. Like everybody just not pointed out. Jordan pointed out clearly. Everybody. So this is almost mute as far as considering them being people. Focus in on the curses, and if you break those commandments.
And what gets me now is like with the whole Kyrie thing, and even just with anybody, they want to call you anti-Semitic.
Right.
Which, you know that's a farce anyway.
It is.
But if you just simply say something like, man, you know, Jewish people run Hollywood, that's anti-Semitic. That's hatred. How is that hate? That's like me saying, man, black men run the NBA. They don't run it, but rule the NBA as far as players.
There you go.
That's a fact.
Not even.
Black men dominate the NBA.
Yeah.
Oh, you being right. I'm not gonna say that's being right. You just stating the fact. That's
Don't make
true.
no sense. Don't make no. I'm with you.
And back to the lynching thing, in America for over 100 years, that a average, was it 2 to 4 lynchings a week in America?
Yeah.
Average. So we know if they admit to that much, it was probably at least twice that. Because little podunk towns, you know, like my parents grew up in little bitty towns, East Texas. I bet you it happened and you never heard about it. It was a lynching my senior year.
Exactly.
Never made national news.
Right. Something vital I knew about. Never really made no news either.
Yeah, so you know it's probably 2 or 3 times more. Than
At least.
At least.
Yeah.
And ongoing.
My goodness.
In different forms.
Yes. All right. Thank y'all for that. Let's go to the next one. Yirmiyahu, I appreciate your patience. All right, I know you stick with me. Read verse 26. All right, read verse 26.
And thy carcass shall be meat unto all the fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. The Most High will smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with the emerods, and with the scab, and with the itch whereof thou canst not be healed.
All right, that was verse 226. That gave it a little extra on that. Because all I'm saying, I think KJV is just madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. So that's interesting.
That was 27 too.
And 27. Yeah. But George still for 26 sounded different. This book says an example of this madness was experienced by slaves before they reached the shores of America. New captives that could not cope with their new reality experienced insanity. Many committed suicide while on slave ships, while others were able to will themselves dead. And he gives a reference for this. This is a reference from a book called Black Cargoes. It's from Mannix, Daniel P. and Crowley Malcolm, somewhere. In 1962 they published this. From their research, right? Yeah, they willed themselves to death. And we had somebody in our family who literally, that's what they did. They ended up, I know it sounds crazy, but I mean, I think I can talk about this. I don't think the father of my wife ended up, he was older, but he's very, you know how you have to have both body and mind kind of like on point when you get a little older. And his mind was there, because he knows like, I don't know how many different languages the whole nine, but the body wasn't following. So he literally just went ahead and sat up, just did not care anymore. And everything started shutting down, and he willed himself to sleep, if you will. You know what I mean?
Hey, real quick, Uzi just texted me something about the lynchings. He said it was like 755 lynchings in the state of Texas. That's documented, 755 just in the state of Texas.
Wasn't it recently like made like officially illegal, as if murder
like they were supposed to be anti-lynching law?
Yeah.
You a day late, the dollar short.
Yeah, a bit.
Wow.
But he said many of the lynchings were taken out by Texas Rangers and other organized or recognized law enforcement personnel acting outside of court-ordered punishments. So law enforcement took it upon themselves to do this to us. And they're still doing it.
and they still doing it.
And it's totally okay.
Man.
Modern day lynching.
But the white Jews are more oppressed because we say they in charge.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So no,
All right, yeah. All right, read it again, verse 27 and also 28 and 29, please.
The Most High shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. And thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in the darkness. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. And thou shalt only be oppressed and spoiled evermore. And no man shall save thee.
All right, stop right there. Despite oppression, there are numerous examples of individuals who were the descendants of slaves who have persevered and excelled in various human endeavors. It cannot be denied that African Americans individually have the capability to excel. However, when viewed holistically as a people, these Israelites occupied the bottom rung of the societies in which they dwell and faced severe hindrances in the realms of spirituality, morality, education, economics, and socialization. Truly, their condition seems hopeless. As a whole, they have been devoid of the solution necessary to change their circumstance. As a whole, they are still oppressed and taken advantage by the peoples of other nations. As a whole, just as in Egypt, the true Israelites have been exploited in the same ways in America and practically every country in which they were scattered as slaves. They are truly blind regarding how to prosper as a people. Although the Israelites have had great leaders who possessed tremendous capabilities, they were unable to save this people from their state. All right, let's go ahead and continue on at verse 30 for me, please.
Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof.
It was a common practice in America during the era of chattel slavery for white males. This is going to be the hard one again, y'all. I mean, y'all just read, we just read, right? Another man betrothed. You'll have a wife, but another man to lie with it. All right, it was a common practice in America during the era of chattel slavery for white male slave owners to have sexual relations with their black female slaves. The female slave had little power over her labor as well as her body. Often sexual intercourse was not a choice. Rape was quite prevalent, and the female who fought against the sexual advances of her master was often punished with physical abuse or deprived of certain privileges, as few as they were. This was also a method by which the masculinity of the male slave was dominated and crushed. The male slave was just as powerless as the female slave, incapable of protecting his wife, daughter, and mother without threat of his own life. This debauchery of the female slave occurred even before these wives, daughters, and mothers reached the shores of America. John Newton, the famous slave trader, turned clergyman and abolitionist, writes the following concerning rape on board slave ships. When the women and girls are taken on board of a ship, naked, trembling, terrified, they are often exposed to the wanton rudeness of white savages. In imagination, the prey is divided upon the spot and only reserved till opportunity offers. And of course, this is John Newton. He wrote this in 1788. It's hard to see, and then also have I think what is it called? Like an advertisement for, you know, for auctioning and the whole nine, or not even auctioning, really just buying. This one says, likely young Negro wench, about 18 years of age, speaks good English, fit for town or country, I don't know. Brothel, is that what it is?
Is that what it is?
Business.
Oh.
Business, country business, yes, thank you.
Wait a minute.
That means she's likely a housekeeper.
Yeah, what says a winch?
Yeah, it says winch. To be sold, by Nathan and Isaac Levy. I want y'all to pay attention to this. Oh yeah. We're gonna hit it on all notes if y'all supposed to be. Yeah, to be sold by Nathan and Isaac Levy. Levy. In front of, and this is in Philadelphia. For all of those talking about people in the South. In Philly. That's one.
That is something.
This is another one by Cohen and Moses. Yeah. On Tuesday, the 6th of October, will be sold before our store with reserved 2 Africans, 1 girl and boy. 12 months. I think she has 12 months in the city and they're 14 years of age. Both, and I think that if I'm reading that right, you're talking about the girl is 12 months. Okay, yeah. In the city and near 14 years of age. The boy, both of the above slaves are in excellent dispositions and wanted characters accustomed to housework, conditions cash, right? So that's the white Jewish people of the time selling our people. This should be case closed by now, but we'll continue on, right? You got to read all of the chapter.
Now the river.
Yeah. And by the way, this comes from a book that they were trying to ban. The one I took this out of a book, the Secret Relationship. You have it. It comes from Secret Relationship. You see it on one of those pages. I didn't catch the page. All right. Now we have verse. I ain't gonna read the other part. It gets to a point, right? So I'm gonna read verse. Let's read verse 31, please.
Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them.
Along with the identity, the possessions were also stripped from the Israelites before they entered the Americas. This loss of sustenance was not unique to the American captivity, but happened in the various instances. Go ahead and read verse 32, please.
Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in them.
This also occurred in a number of occasions as Israel was moved in and out of captivity. In America, which is our focus, because remember that's what we're dealing with right now. In America, which is our focus, children of slaves were sold at the financial impulse of the slave master. Consequently, families were often torn apart. Many members never seen their loved ones again. In the work in this book, the work Slavery and Domestic Slave Trade in the United States, Professor Andrews' inquiry of the slave trader sheds light on verse 32. This comes from the book. Andrews, do you buy the wife without the husband? Slave trader. Yes, very often and frequently too. They sell me the mother while they keep the children. I have often known them to take away the infant from its mother's breast and keep it while they sold her. In many instances, families were split for the purpose of establishing economic security for the children of slave owners, just as a trust fund would today. Do the research on that on your own, right? It's just a trust fund would today. Go ahead and read. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I got those parts.
Or a quick statement. Because everything that you just read, or we just read right there, and what you just read from there, it correlates with even the fact that when we look at this, yes, we see that these are white Jewish names, but the fact that they have their names.
Yes.
Because some people will say, and the argument has been, well, didn't Africans still Africans? Or didn't black people own slaves in America? I recently saw somebody pull something up and say that, well, blacks own blacks. But my question to them is this. When blacks own blacks, under whose last name?
There you go.
Was it the name that they came from the continent?
There you go.
So again, those are just things that people don't pay attention to.
Nope.
So even if blacks were owning blacks, if they want to say put a color on it, were owning blacks in America, buying and trading, the last name still was Jefferson or Anderson or even if it said Mr. So-and-so, his last name already had a slave. He was once a slave.
Yeah.
He didn't come, he may have gotten to the point to where he was no longer. But we see that all throughout our history as Israelites, right? In the scriptures.
That's layered. That's super layered.
And with that too, are they just showing blacks purchasing slaves? Because a lot of people purchase their families out of slavery.
Yeah.
Or even just friends. If I got the money, hey man, I'm gonna come back and get you. You know what I mean? That don't mean they worked them as slaves, they purchased them. And they probably had to keep the paperwork to prove they was free. But were they really slaves?
Yeah.
See, you didn't came up, you didn't.
See, that's what I'm saying. This is a layered approach. B'nai Israel, I'll direct people into B'nai Israel's videos he put out dealing with this very topic, and he'll show you all the old documentation, and he'll show you how like the narrative is a little skewed, like what y'all are bringing out, because there were actual wars. Like he shows documentation of people actually having to go fight and take people. So what is this narrative now you're trying to bring to us? That's okay. Now, even if you want to bring this narrative to us, now this goes back to the conversation as well that you brought out dealing with, well, if it's just black to be black, who are these black people? That goes back to the other thing. Are these just you? You're just throwing out black, but we deal with nationhood here.
Yeah.
We deal with nationalities here.
Yeah, color.
So it's just a crayon.
Created.
Yeah. It's a construct. So now we're dealing with that. Who are these people? And it still goes back to what you just now brought up. No, we're still dealing with the people of the book, not son of Ander or son of John.
There
Johnson.
you go.
You know what I'm saying? Anderson. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah. We're not dealing with that. Yeah, it's different. So that's good what y'all bring. I just want y'all to repeat that. Remember what y'all think. Bring it out. I'm gonna remember everything y'all say. Just now. Okay? All right. 1 point to it. All right. So let's keep moving. You want to say something? You good?
Well, like even also if they were like in servitude to one another and like in slavery, were they like dehumanized as much as they were? Like, did they tear families apart?
There you go.
Did they punish them like severely? You know, just all the stuff that they've done and continue to do. Like, did they, do that back then? Like to such a horrible, dehumanizing degree? Like cattle?
Right. And if it was, do y'all know how much documentation and movies that they would be bringing out about this stuff? There's no way that they would let us go this long without bringing it out in a movie or a huge thing of showing
black people and
showing us.
Telling people's children, telling our own children.
You see, they had to go outside of America to accomplish that with the Dahomey thing that the woman came.
That's what they found out. They had a movie on that.
Right.
Yeah.
So they have that, but they have to go outside of the United States. If we're talking about America, then we're talking about people that make the statement that Africans or that people from the continent of Africa were here buying and selling and trading their own people here. So that's why, thank you. That's
good. Oh, my bad.
That's a real good action.
Thank you. All right, so it's a lot already. We got just give me 10 minutes, y'all. 10 minutes. All right. Where did we leave off? Hear me out.
We're at
33. Go ahead. Yes, please go ahead and read 33.
The fruit of thy land.
And through 33 to 36.
You said all the way to 36?
Yes, please.
The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up. And thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always, so that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. The Most High shall smite thee in the knees and in the legs with a sore botch that cannot be healed, from the sole of thy foot unto the top of thy head. The Most High shall bring thee and thy king which thou shalt set over thee unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known. And there shalt thou serve other Elohim, wood and stone. And thou shalt become... Oh, my bad.
Hey, so I'm going to go ahead and just get through this. I think case closed already because you asked that on the other side? No, you can't. Anyway, all right, read this book. When they came to the Americas as slaves, Israelites adopted pagan customs of their masters, such as Christmas, Easter, Sunday worship, right? All right, let's keep it moving unless somebody else got something to say on that. Let's keep it moving. All right, go ahead and read I'm gonna get you to jump to 37, please. No, not jump, it's just 37, please.
And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all the nations, whither the Most High shall lead thee.
Alright, and it says, in Psalm 44 it is written, thou makest us a reproach to our neighbors, a scorn and a derision to them that are round about us. Thou makest us a byword among the heathen, a shaking of the head among the people. There is an undeniably and negative stigma associated with being black, quote unquote black or quote unquote African American in this country. It is inescapable even in the era of political correctness. The child that is born black before he opens his eyes is at a disadvantage, much more so than every other baby in the ward. He is born into a nation of people whose condition other nationalities marvel at. Other nations are aware that there is something peculiar, quote unquote dysfunctional, about the African American condition. Many attribute this dysfunction to the erroneous belief in the inferiority of blacks, not understanding that their lot is a curse from Yah for disobedience. Regarding bywords and proverbs, the terms quote unquote colored, quote unquote Negro, quote unquote black, quote unquote nigger, and even the most recent quote unquote African American are all terms that have been bestowed upon this group throughout time. However, what are these terms if they are not proverbs or bywords? Used as terms of distinction, these misnomers lend nothing in their meaning toward nationality or tribal affiliation, which is what truly identifies a group and people. All right, go ahead and read 38 through 40.
Thou shalt carry much seed out into the field, and gather it, and shalt gather it, but little in, for the locust shall consume it. Thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them, but shalt neither drink of the wine, nor gather the grapes, for the worms shall eat them. Thou shalt have olive trees throughout all thy coasts, but thou shalt not anoint thyself with the oil, for thine olive shall cast his fruit.
All right, as I read this, I'm going to ask you if you want to in the commentary. It is truly disadvantageous. It's truly disadvantageous to toil with our own hands, your own hands, and not be able to profit from doing so. Mikai, relax. And just as the Israelites built the treasure cities in Python and Ramses in Egypt, they built America. They have not benefited from the sweat, blood that was shed in the building of the richest, strongest nation in the world. America was able to surpass many of the competitors as a direct result of slave labor. And while totally depriving those who put in the labor from the fruits from such labor should justly praise. Alright, anybody got anything to say?
Oh, shoot.
I mean, I know it's
I mean, we already know reading fundamental. Like, we get it.
reading is fundamental. It is.
We get it.
It's
We
fundamental.
live it. We live it.
Yeah.
I mean, if that don't fit us, I don't know what to tell you. And you know, and people want to act like that we've been free for over 100 years from slavery. Everything was great from that point.
Oh my goodness.
It was worse.
It was worse.
I mean, people were still slaves. My dad, his family, they picked cotton in the 50s and 60s for like 3 cents a pound.
Mm-hmm.
You know how much a pound of cotton is?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That you're still technically a slave.
Yeah.
So you picked for a farmer, got paid paid cents to pick it.
Yeah.
Then you had to rent the same house from the same farmer. Yes. So that same 3 cents, you gotta get it right back.
They get it right back.
It don't make no sense. So we were still slaves in the 50s and 60s.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Somebody make a very good analogy, and it was excellent, where they said we were, because people are like, we're not slaves, but the word says slave, you will be slaves and oppressed. So maybe we might be beyond the physical labor part of it, and, evidence, although it's still occurring in the prison system, but we're still oppressed, and the oppression has never stopped, period, and it will not stop until the Most High comes for us. Because these people are determined to kill us off, or to make sure that we never come up to where they feel belittled, where they feel lesser than themselves. In order for them to feel better about themselves and feel like they've accomplished accomplish something, they have to see us. It can't be anybody else. It has to be us. To see them.
Yeah, I agree.
One of the presidents said that, all in a nutshell, was it Roosevelt? I gotta look it up. But he said something like, you know, to pick somebody's pocket. I was just saying, no. I'm gonna have to look it up to you right one. But he said basically, when he finalized what he said, but you give them something to hate, they'll pick their pockets for you. You know what I mean? He said that. So that's how the world lives off of us being lesser people in their eyes. Because they have to have somebody to hate. They have to have somebody to say, well, at least I'm not him. It's not me.
Yeah, they have to bring you up to a, like we looked at the percentage of the how much people make in their household, right?
Yes.
So they have to give you a level of success in order for them to say not everybody. Because if I reward one and he can go this far, so can you. But all behind the scenes, you're still being oppressed. And they want to play word games with you and say, well, slave comes from this word Slav, and they want to say all this, but you know what is meant by slavery. You know that it's meant to be in captivity of some sort. We still have to get permission to leave this country. We still have to, we have a birth certificate, we have a social security
don't
card.
let you get caught up in the prison system, then what happens with that
oh man, they make
your passport? What is that? You don't get one.
No way.
Even if it's child support.
Even child support, so they make sure they get back.
You're done.
Whatever that they give you, they're getting it back. If they're paying and helping the mom because you're not taking care of the child, oh, you best believe they're getting their money back.
That's it.
They're getting, they're giving them a fraction of their care. They're not even giving them good. So it's like they dangle the carrot per se and make it seem like as though you're coming up as a people. We've come so far. You know, all this stuff like that, but it's only a certain small percentage of people that have come that far.
Right.
And even then,
It's not even their money.
you have to
It's actually
rebuke
the
your
money
heritage.
you earn from all the work.
Say it one more time. I want to make sure.
And it's not actually their money. It's the money you earn from all the work.
Why simply put in the mouth, baby. What you got?
Like, and even like the small percentage that become like Shaquille O'Neal or whatever, basically you have to basically deny your heritage. Deny where you come from. Don't go help them out. Don't try to bring them up where y'all all. I ain't saying just hand out money, but don't go back to people and give them the skills to get out of what they're in.
No. I was this close to putting in. There's a couple things I want to say that I'm keep moving real quick. I was gonna put a slide that was actually gonna show the hierarchy, if you will, of like incomers in black. I was this close, but I was like, nah, that ain't probably gonna be it. Then y'all brought this out though. I should have put it in there, but it would show like, but essentially, it's 40 million blacks, right? I'm just saying that term, we don't know what I'm talking about. 40 million Hebrews, 40 million blacks, but not all of us Hebrews, whatever. It's 40 million blacks, and about 1 million of us are in that like percentage. It ain't even like you're making that kind of crazy money. It's not even like that amongst the rest of the nations. It's not. And when you get down to people who's making like 110, that supposedly they have $110,000 or incomers, not necessarily wealth, but incomers, and they're all tied to like baby boomers for the most part. They're all hooked baby boomer. So it's just it's interesting how that goes. You know what I'm saying? And the other thing I want to say is dealing with the slavery, since both of y'all brought that up. So in the financial world, they'll say that it's okay that if you're in debt, you're in some type of slavery. Yes. They'll say that. They'll now use that number, if you will, use that nomenclature to say, oh, okay, yeah, you're in some type of slavery. But I'm like, hold on. But when I get ready to say chattel slavery, then there's an issue. There's a problem now, all of a sudden. But the 2 minutes on CNBC or whatever you want to say, you want to call it being in slavery. They playing word games. I think you said they playing word games with us, man. Word games. So you got to pick. Can we use the word or can we not use the word? Right. If you can't, then stop. Then stop saying when you say you're a slave, you feel like you don't get what you do, if you don't have the right to free speech or something like that. I'm like, well.
And then it's like monitored. Like people say free speech, like that means you can say whatever you want with no consequences. If you scream bomb in an airport, you might get dealt with. Oh my God.
They'll say I'm oppressed. I don't have that ability to say it.
Hey, Lisa found that quote.
Yes.
It's by Lyndon B. Johnson.
Oh,
He
you
said-
are racist.
Yeah, he said, if you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him someone to look down on and he'll empty his pockets for you.
Oh my
And that's exactly what they do, because that's how you can get some hillbilly in West Virginia who don't got two nickels to rub together. They're like, Trump is for the working man.
And he like,
you know what I'm saying?
he like, let me wake up.
Yeah.
You at the bottom of the cast too.
Well, they're looking down on you.
Yeah.
Living in the same condition, and for them, that's a play that they've always done because they did that with the Irish people.
Yes.
When they had the Irish
Yes,
man that was
I
an
know.
indentured servant, then they said, "Oh,
Real indentured
Lord,
servitude.
yeah, real indentured servitude,
Yeah. Not slavery.
not
Not chattel slavery.
not slavery, not brutal."
Brutal chattel slavery. No.
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 So when they did that, it put them one step or a few steps above us, meaning, and they did it with the natives too.
Yeah.
With the natives too. We're gonna give you,
Yes.
we're gonna
Come on.
give you this land.
Oh yeah.
And even though they're brown like you, we're gonna make sure that you understand
Okay.
y'all are a different people.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna give you reservations, even though we're gonna still do messed up stuff. We're gonna give you
Sure.
reservations.
Yeah. But you got land.
What do we have? Like, I mean, y'all couldn't even give us a reservation,
A piece of land. You promised for it, but then you didn't even give us
but
that.
never got.
No.
Nothing.
Not even.
Oh, and by the way, too, they also get taxes. So if you're a Native American, when you go, you don't pay taxes.
Matter of
Like,
fact, hold that. Can you hold that?
Oh, yeah.
All right,
yeah.
next verse.
Okay.
Here we are. Next verse, because that's going right along with what we're
Okay,
saying.
okay.
Go ahead. Read 41 through 43.
Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. All thy trees and fruit of thy land shall the locust consume. The stranger that is within you shall get up above you very high, and thou shalt come down very low.
All right, now continue on what you're saying about the native. That's right in amongst us. Go ahead. What you saying, man?
Gosh,
I'm
look.
trying to say these scriptures ain't no joke.
I didn't read ahead, y'all. I
You
didn't
didn't read
ahead.
those scriptures. Go ahead.
No, I
We read it
didn't read
before, we
ahead.
just didn't read it ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, but
Say what
that's
you said.
what happens. Is like they strangers. Like this is not like for them.
Yes.
Yeah, they might say Native
Strangers
American
to
or
us.
whatever, but they're strangers to us.
Yes.
Right. And so at one point it was kind of like, oh yeah, we'll help you because we're kind of on the same thing. Like we kind of have a little bit of the same struggle.
Uh-huh.
But then they gave them land.
Yes.
They gave them casinos. I mean, money
They go,
out.
yeah.
Like you just don't. And I understand that they're doing some messed up things in their community. But even when our people claim to be them, they reject them. That was all over the news just recently with the Cherokee or one of those tribes that everybody says. When I was little, my family always said we got Cherokee in our blood. And I didn't find none of that in my DNA. But anyway,
They actually enslaved us too.
yeah, that's my point. That's my point. So they got to a point to where now we have to work for you, and it's still a form, again, like Amaziah was saying, a form of being in debt to someone.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's still like they put one little person a little bit above you, so then that way they just constantly look down on you. And if they by chance get a house Negro, as you would, plain terms, if they get somebody like that, then they only let them go so far and then stop it and say you'll never be a 1%er. You'll never be you'll never be that. Like just so you know, we'll let you go this far, but you'll never be on. Like they're not even still on their league.
Mm-hmm.
Oprah is still
No.
not on their.
Well, and
league.
it was just proven just now with this recent situation.
Yeah.
Right? You say something, they can
All
pull
your assets, they
$2
get all back.
billion. What it be? They can pull $2 billion from your pockets.
Now he's still a millionaire now, but
Who? Hold on.
Kanye.
They just they're proving it right now. They can pull $2 billion out your pocket for making a statement about something that's reality.
Yes.
Exactly.
You have a Jewish lawyer.
He didn't say kill him. He didn't say go beat him up. He didn't say destroy. No. He just said, hey man, they won
I got a
money.
Jewish
Yeah.
That one interview.
Yeah.
That one video he did where he said the guy who was interviewed saying, but that's not really, it's not really right to say that they're Jewish or whatever. He said, but they were Jewish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's crazy.
All right, I'm actually gonna have to fly by some of this. That way we get to it. All right, so hear me out. Just go ahead and read from 44 all the way to 57. I know that's a lot, but I mean, yeah, because I'm being timely. I don't want to be timely like this. All right, go ahead, man. So 44 all the way to 57. I know that's pretty much almost the end. But we're there, right? Let's go ahead and finish it up.
He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Most High, thy Elohim, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, because thou servest not the Most High, thy Elohim, with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Most High shall send against thee in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck, until he have destroyed thee. The Most High shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor shew favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle, and the fruit of thy land, until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kind, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates, until thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou trustest throughout all thy land. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which the Most High thy Elohim hath given thee. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, the flesh of thy sons, and of thy daughters, which the Most High thy Elohim hath given thee, in the siege and in the straitness, wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee. So that the man that is tender among you, and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. So that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children, whom he shall eat, because he hath nothing left him in the siege, and in the straitness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in thy gates. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter, and toward her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear. For she shall eat them for want of all things secretly in siege and straitness, wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in thy gates.
Alright, so it says, this prophecy was fulfilled during the siege of Titus upon Jerusalem. To escape death and slavery, millions of Israelites fled. Thank you, by the way, for that good reading. Millions of Israelites fled to Africa. It is not difficult to fathom how many Israelites who were escaping Roman persecution fled south toward the interior of Africa for refuge, as they had done in times past. Millions of Shemitic black Jews settled in the lands of the black Hamitic nations. Dr. A.H. Godbey correctly suggests that as strangers among the African Israelites would have been vulnerable to enslavement during wars and conflicts. And he says, we can make two conclusions quite easily. When we understand that the Israelites fled into Africa, first, the Jews' flight into Africa occurred between 66 and 70 AD, many years before the slave trade occurred. During this time, many Israelites would have adopted the languages, customs, religions, traditions, and of the Africans with whom they dwelt, for the purpose of mere survival. Second, dwelling as outsiders among other nations definitely sets the stage for their complete enslavement. Africans had no attachment to these people. We often hear about how Africans sold Africans, which is true in some instances, but on the massive scale, these Africans were selling Israelites that had dwelt in Africa for hundreds of years following the siege of Jerusalem. All right, let me see. I think we're pretty much there. Go ahead and read. Unless y'all want to say something to that, go ahead and read us. Let's just jump. Let's jump 63 to 67.
And it shall come to pass that as the Most High rejoiced over you, to do you good and to multiply you, so the Most High will rejoice over you to destroy you, and to bring you to naught. And ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. And the Most High shall scatter thee among all the people, from the one end of the earth even to the other. And there thou shalt serve other Elohim, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But the Most High shall give thee there a trembling heart, and a failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would Elohim if it were even. And at even thou shalt say, would Elohim it were morning. For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see.
Alright, thank you. It says, through those verses, stand alone and capturing the essence. And that's why, that part was actually really good, because I agree with that. Stand alone and capturing the essence of what has been experienced by Israelites during captivity. 64 through 67, read that on your own once again. That portion captures the essence of what has been experienced by Israelites during captivity. And go ahead and read 68. We already know what it says, but let's go ahead and finish it out.
And the Most High shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
Hallelujah. So, I didn't put they have some, I was going to put what's called here the stowage of the British slave ship Brooks under the Regulated Slave Trade Act of 1788. We're giving y'all data, man. And it shows how you actually fit all of the people in these cargo ships, in the hulls of the cargo ships, how you line them up. All right, so we looked at the information, but we always like to deal with solutions, and of course, the solution is what the Most High gave from verse 3 through 14, right? Get back to the blessings cited between 3 and 14, and if we get back to those blessings, or if we do what the Most High says He told us to do, the cities and farms will be successful. The children, crops, livestock will be blessed. The ability to defeat enemies, all right? Storehouses is going to be filled. Recognition as a holy nation among the other sons of Adam. Excuse me on that. Other nations will notice Yah given position and will fear those. Plenty of goods and occupy the land of Canaan, right? Like plenty of goods will occupy the land of Canaan. Excuse me for my typing. All right. Rain shall fall in due season, and Israel will be placed in a position to lend to other nations and not to borrow. Advantage in dealing with other nations. We'll have an advantage in dealing with them. And of course, the beautiful thing is we'll serve the Lord our God of Israel rather than the other nations' gods, right? False gods. And that's pretty much the solution for that. So, yeah. In closing, y'all know the deal. Let's go ahead and read this all together. This comes out of Ecclesiastes 12, 13, and 14. 1, 2, 3. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Elohim and guard his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. For Elohim shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. In Revelation 14:12, here is the patience of the Kodashim. Here are they that guard the commandments of Yahuwah and the belief of Yahushua. I think we don't have to say much else. It's understood of who the people are, right? I appreciate that, y'all. That's gonna be it on that. Shalom.